So for this piece, we wanted to have some acoustic elements and instruments in the piece, but we also wanted an electric drum and bass influenced sound. Our main inspirations for this piece were The Prodigy and Chasing Status. Prodigy has a more jungle drum and bass and rave music kind of sound, but they also are influenced by synth rock, and punk. The Prodigy write all of their music in Cubase, but since most of their music was recorded in the 90s and early 2000s, they were restricted to using hardware synths, and they also used a lot of drum samplers and drum machines, such as the Roland TR-909. The main genres and influences of Chase and Status are EDM and dubstep. However, in some of their songs, like No Problem, they also have influences from Afrobeat and drum and bass. Chase and Status also use Cubase. However, because most of their music was recorded in the 2010s, they also use a lot of software plugins and synthesizers such as Omnisphere and Massive. They also, in a few songs, used hardware synthesizers such as the Roland JP8000.
So for project 3, we are doing a drum and bass track, and in this track we will need some vocals. And our reference for this track is Chase and Status, as they have vocals in their track, in their drum and bass track. They have guitar, they have drums, but focusing on vocals, the mic they used is an Avalon VT737 SP mic preamp. This microphone is really good, but for us, we're going to be using a Behringer condenser microphone or an AKG microphone for this recording, as it will give us a really good quality sounding recording for the track that we are aiming to make.
For the drum and bass, jungle, guitar, fusion piece, I think we need to combine maybe two, if not even three different tones of guitar. The first that I sort of think about is a more of a djenty tone, so something really low, verging on bass. So that would be the name that comes to my mind is the one like Jason Richardson. It's probably again just a low tone, maybe with the bottom end rolled off again, maybe even scooping the mids. We'll have to see which one works. I know he uses an Axe-Fx to get that. I don't know what he profiles on though. The other tone that comes to mind is the one that I spoke about in the rock piece. That's something more chordal, something for some mid-layer harmony. Whereas I think the djenty tone will be paired with kicks to give it a bit of punch instead of using 808s. And then finally, if we were to do something slightly more leady, something that maybe we record as a DI, but then turn it into more of a synth track. So that's also an option that we've got. Just getting really experimental with it, and trying to capture that kind of rock sound that you would get from a Marshall or a Fender amp, but also something that is modern and commercial.
For this project, we wanted to integrate between both digital and acoustic drums in order to emulate the sound made by Chase and Status and The Prodigy, because we're using both artists as reference points. For The Prodigy, they have a lot of drum and bass, rave and digital features, often sampling and sequencing their drums. They also have a lot of punk rock and synth rock influences, whilst Chase and Status has a much more modern EDM, dubstep and drum and bass take to their music. They often sample their own drums, but they do also use acoustic drums as well as integrating guitar into their music. For this drum kit recording, we'll be using the MBD-K5 set, a pair of Behringer C2 pencil condensers for overheads, and a Rode NT2A for room ambience.